This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Cabo Jim Schaller.
Welcome, good neighbors, to episode number 181 of the Good Neighbor Podcast Estero. Today we have good neighbor Conley Black from Florida Closets and More. Welcome.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Hey, pleasure to get to know people in the community and what they do and share it with our listeners. So let's jump right in, and why don't you share a little bit about what you do over at Florida Closets and More?
Yeah, so we're your standard kind of organization specialists. We always tell people we can save you a few minutes a day. We take those, a big portion of our work is new construction homes, taking those wire shelves out after closing and putting some adjustable shelves in. And they can be very fancy. We've done closets where they played music when you open the door. And we've also done them where we weren't in the building for an hour. You know, they were very simple, very fast. And we don't have a preference. We just want to kind of remove stress from your life. And like I say, save you a few minutes every day.
Right. Help organize people and get them in the right direction there. So how did you get involved in the closet industry per se?
I'm your standard corporate washout. I was in corporate home building for years and years. I ran large home building operations. And a few years ago, I just got sick of working for other people. I tell people I'm a walking, talking cliche. So I was 34 with 54 employees or something crazy. And
Wow.
I just wanted to spend time with my wife and kids. And so so I kind of quit/retired. And I was living in a rental home at the time, and my wife and I have moved a lot. We built a lot of houses over the years because of what I did for work. And I was in this rental home, and I was complaining that the closets were terrible. I was like, I can't live like this, because we had always had closet systems in our houses. Now it's a first world problem for sure. But once you have a system like ours, you just can't go back. And so I'm in this rental home for a month, and I'm just losing my mind. And my wife said, well, you've been looking for something else to do. I don't want you sitting around for a couple of years doing nothing, having a cigar in the pool. And she said, why don't you just do that? You can kind of piddle and do, work a few minutes a day, a few hours a day, whatever, do something. And because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. My midlife crisis was in the early stages. And so anyways, so we started a company just for kind of giggles. I sold closets a couple days a week. I installed closets a couple days a week. And then 6 months later, we had a salesperson, a full-time installer. Now we have multiple of each. And we service, Marco Island to Venice, Sarasota, if you're nice. We try not to go. We don't mind it. It's just a long drive. I mean, just logistically, you really do turn into one of those guys who's like, hey, if we go 20 more miles, we don't make any money. And,
right.
And I tell people, everyone knows for me, and money is not the most important thing. It's not the driver of my decisions, but we do have people we have to feed. So because the differences in one of our differences is compared to our competition is we have full-time installers that only work for us. We don't use any subcontractor crews. Closets are very intimate. It's where people keep their guns, drugs, and money, and their jewelry and all those things. And so we tell people our people work for us, only us. They have full background checks, driving records, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's and like I said earlier, we have a few other businesses as well. So I'm one of those like serial entrepreneur guys.
That's a good thing, though. You gotta keep growing constantly. So being involved in all of this, we've all had some type of challenge or obstacle along our journey that maybe we can look back at that's helped define who we are today. Is there something that happened along your journey?
The story I always tell, and if you know me well at all, the story in late 2019 and early 2020. My long story short, I have 4 children now, but one of them, he was 4 years old at the time, got very sick. And as he was in the hospital, I had to be with him for 31 days or whatever it was, because my wife was breastfeeding our youngest at the time. And so going from, working in this big corporate situation, I had lots of authority and lots of responsibility. And all of a sudden I couldn't leave the hospital. I disappeared for a month. And again, I'm a cliche in 5 or 10 different ways, but I came out of the hospital kind of like, don't bother me after 5. I just want to spend time with my wife and kids. And that's generally how I try to structure things now. We live in Babcock Ranch, and we walk the kids to school, we walk them home from school, we ride scooters to school, things like that. And it's a very convenient way of living, and that's one of the reasons we live up here, is because we can have that extra time with the kids.
Absolutely. And as the older you get, the more you appreciate and want to spend time with the family and have them around. You realize what's important.
Yeah, I get more sentimental every 10 minutes. It's honestly, it's frustrating. So,
so are there any myths or maybe misconceptions surrounding the closet industry that we could clear up for our listeners?
Yeah, I think the big one is it has a lot of people think it's dominated by the big corporates, the big franchises, and it's not. There's some really good businesses that are the medium, small businesses that do. I mean, we can do exactly what California Closets or Closets by Design does. We do exactly what they do. We use the same materials. The only difference, again, is we use full-time, salaried installers. And so I think a lot of people think that, and I've heard people refer to their closet. They call me and they say, "I want a California closet." It's like a proper noun,
right?
And so I think that a lot of folks think that those big companies are the only option. And like I said, we do exactly what they do. We do it with the same materials. We just do it in a different way, we believe. Now, obviously, they do a great job as well, and there's plenty of room for everybody. It's a huge market, but I think that's the biggest misconception that we've bumped into. And because of our name, people think that we're just another big company, but we have 5 employees total.
Nice. So do you notice anything trending in the industry lately?
Yes, but we don't participate. There's a lot of fun, trendy, different accessories and things like that. But for me, I come from the production home building world. We do a certain, Chick-fil-A, they do a certain thing well. And if you ask for a cheeseburger, they'll just tell you, we don't do that here. And so there's lots of fun, cool trends, especially, with social media and ease of information like everybody has right now. I'm always getting, notifications or things sent to me, or sometimes I'll just kind of search around and look at closet trends. So there's lots of cool accessories, but the problem is they all cost money because they're new and they're detailed or whatever. And for us, like I said earlier, our goal was to relieve your stress. Our goal was to save you a few minutes a day because your closet is now organized, or your drawers, they're not in your bedroom. Now they're in your closet. You know what I mean? And so we don't focus on all those things. We do a certain thing really well. We try to keep it simple. Now, again, we do lighting jobs and things like that. We are capable of doing very complicated, fancy things, but we present ourselves and we market ourselves to the kind of the middle market, where folks they just want it to be reasonable. They want it to be comfortable. They want it to be easy, and they don't want the price to be crazy. So I think to answer your question succinctly, which I don't ever do, the trend is making things complicated, and we're trying to avoid that.
Absolutely. So are you from Southwest Florida originally?
Does it sound like I am? Where does it sound like I'm from, Jim?
I don't know. Not here.
This is an important question. Where do you think where does it sound like I'm from? Tell me the state.
You sound like a Midwesterner.
Oh yeah, baby. No, I'm from Eastern Kentucky.
Really?
Yes, sir. I spent in college. I spent a lot of time getting rid of my accent. I took a lot of public speaking classes. But
very nice.
Yeah, I'm a born in the woods, raised in a cave, Eastern Kentucky hillbilly.
What brought you down here?
I married a Fort Lauderdale girl.
Nice.
And then a few years ago, February of 2021, my wife walked in our house and she said, "We're moving to Florida." And we lived in Knoxville, Tennessee at the time. And so she said she wanted to move to Florida, but because she grew up in Fort Lauderdale, she didn't want to live there. Orlando's traffic is crazy. Yep. And so we ended up with Tampa or Jacksonville. And then I was offered a job in Cape Coral, and I said, "Where's Cape Coral?" And so I went there. And then I quit that job, and here we are.
There you go. That's the rest of the story. I love it. Sir. So obviously you're a very busy man. You got a lot going on. What do you enjoy? You have family, so what do you enjoy doing outside of work?
Right now I'm flipping a house. I know it sounds crazy. But I explained this to my wife. Like I said, we have 4 kids. We have 5 businesses. We're very busy, and all of our businesses are small. And so if you know much about small businesses, they don't really make any money until you get to a pretty sizable number. And so I can't really goof off much. But a lot of people spend a few hours a weekend playing golf, and I spend a few hours a weekend flipping a house with a friend of mine. We're doing all the manual labor ourselves, replacing joists and, hanging drywall and all that sort of things we're doing ourselves. It's very slow because we're getting old and there's only two of us. I tell people I can't afford to have a hobby that doesn't pay me money, and not a lot of hobbies pay you money, but flipping a house, it's fun. It's a good workout. You get to learn something, stretch your brain a bit, especially they build them different down here. I'm not used to this. I've built a lot of houses in my life, but never in Florida. And plus the house we're flipping is about 70 years old. So it's kind of fun. But yeah, we've been doing that for a couple months. I know it sounds crazy, but
no, that sounds like fun. That's absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a good time.
It's a good experience. So is there one thing you wish our listeners knew about you that maybe they're not aware of?
Oh, our team is, if I have one, I'm not a very talented person, nor am I very smart, but one thing I think I'm okay at, and I have a history to prove it, is that I'm pretty good at picking people. And obviously that takes work and trial and error, but we have a really good team of really good people that compared to most our competitors, they are kind, they work hard, they vacuum before, during, and after a job, just those little extra steps. We had a customer a couple weeks ago. I just got back from vacation, and then a lady called me and said, "Hey, you were at my laundry room yesterday and it's flooded. There's water everywhere." And, mistakes happen. And so Jim, our install manager, and I went over there, and there wasn't that much water, and it wasn't a big deal. And so we tore everything out and replaced it. It took us a couple hours. Not a big deal. I mean, it costs money, but what else am I going to do? It's super important to me to do the right thing. And so, so we cleaned it up, we vacuumed and dried, and we tore everything out. We replaced it all. And when we left, she said, "By the way, I have to tell you, your team is great. Lori is great. Jim is great. Juan's fantastic." And she's listing all these names. And I said, it's not often that you flood somebody's house and they thank you on the way out. And so I was very proud of that. I've had a lot of, the 4-letter word in home building is leak. You're not allowed to say that one. That's a bad one. But I've dealt with it many times, but I've never had someone thank me on the way out the door.
That is awesome. That speaks volumes. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I believe, being a small business owner, sometimes there are rough days, but if you have good people doing good activities, you will have success.
There you go. So how would our listeners go about contacting you if they had any questions, concerns, needs?
So we have your standard website, Facebook, Instagram, things like that. It's all Florida Closets and More, all spelled out. All the good domains are taken. So we have, I've never counted them, but there's at least 100 letters in ours. But Facebook is where we do most of our activity. It's our demographic. Most of them are on Facebook. And so, like I always tell people, I don't think I've ever sold anybody a closet under 30. And so if we have, people like me and you are our customers, and we're on Facebook sharing recipes,
That's it. Family pictures.
So Facebook and our website, they're all kind of linked together. But if you look for Florida Closets and More, you can find us.
Perfect. Any last words for our listeners?
No. Come see us, excited to meet you. And, I appreciate the time with you, Jim. And, is your nickname Cabo or Cabo?
Cabo.
Is that
Cabo
because
San Lucas.
You have a house in Cabo, and you like?
I wish I had a house in Cabo.
Is that where you are right now?
I should be.
You've got this background. I'm obviously in a bedroom. You have a background that hides where you are.
Yeah. See?
No. I just, I want everyone to, if you choose us or choose somebody else, either way, you should, at least look into some closet systems. They're not as expensive as you think, and they really will save you 5 minutes every time you get dressed. And that, it sounds dumb, but think about it.
It adds up.
It really does add up. And so, and we do free design consultations. So we do not mind wasting an hour with you, measuring your room and seeing your space, because we get to spend time with you and we get to interact with you. And even if you don't buy anything, cool with us.
There you go.
So, give us a call. We'll come by, check it out.
Perfect. Conley, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thanks for being such a good neighbor, and I hope to see you out in the community soon.
All right. Thanks, Cabo.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Estero. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpestero.com. That's gnpestero.com or call 239-296-2621.